Hey, it's Cool Fur Cats, Cool Fur Cats. Hello, and welcome to me babbling about a bunch of Marvel comics. I'm going to try to go a little faster, but I actually have some thoughts, so it's going to be a long video. Yay. First up, the poster child of Marvel now, I think, maybe, now that we're on the other side of things. Captain Marvel 12. Something clicked for this issue for me. Um, This is Captain America running with a series of no name mutants after the fall of Krakoa, trying to find safety for them, kind of having them fight for themselves, working different ways, tying it to the history of people who worked at like fairs and whatnot back in the day, more in Captain America's time, the othered people, and who he's defending and why, taking the metaphor for mutants and oppression and lifting it in a way the X-Men has failed to do for years. And Straczynski's doing it through a character that notably isn't a mutant, and doing it through historical pairings and some swift character beats. I'm gonna have to go back and reread this to get the levels on it, because I just kind of realized how much deeper this run is than I was giving it credit for, and I was already pretty well taken with it. And the first bit, being a little less related to some of that, was a good in with his take on Captain America. Though I am missing some of the landlord stuff and some of the hard work hero idea, but yeah, no, I'm really impressed with where this is going, and this is definitely going to be a stronger Captain America arc, but I haven't seen too many people banging on about it, and it's interesting because I don't think a lot of X-Men fans are checking this out when it's doing a better job right now than they certainly are. Um, okay, next up, Daredevil. I got two issues. Um, this is kind of the end of the Daredevil as a holy man coming out of hell bit, and it ends with Fisk. I'm spoiling the heck out of this one, but this ends with Fisk praying for mercy after being possessed by a demon. I don't know. I don't know how to put it. This run has felt like a very watered down version of the kind of expected Daredevil beats we get anymore. And in a lot of ways, even, I mean, I was a huge fan of Zdarsky's run, which we're coming out of, but this one just feels less than, less than a lot. And I'm reading through the early Daredevil stuff right now. I'm at the 90s in issue count, not the 90s comics, but 98, building up to 100. Slowly, I'm reading maybe an issue a month at this point. Oh, I need to get back on it. There's more fertile ground here, or with those early issues, than there is with this current run. Which is, I bring this up in particular because Daredevil has, I've heard often been referred to, especially since Volume 2 and Kevin Smith came on, as kind of a book that's quietly been the one of the best comic books on any given month regularly for a long time. And Daredevil just keeps going. It's considered to be the most consistently quality book. Um, Hopefully they get back to that, because I believe this current run is not meeting that muster at all. This is not very interesting. It's not playing with any legal complications. It's not playing with much moral complication, because it's good and evil. It is Daredevil good, demons bad, and he's expelling demons from characters. And it's just, how do I say, the stakes are so high for a single issue that they carry almost no weight because they have to be resolved. I don't know. It hasn't been working so great for me. On the other hand, Daredevil, the Woman Without Fear, Electric running around as Daredevil, is a 4-issue mini. I assume it's a pilot to see if this sells as an idea so they can do a proper spin-off or something. Um, as a lot, it looks like a lot of this run is going to be her dealing with the ill-fated non-Punisher, as a lot of Punisher fans call him, or fake Punisher, dealing with him and kind of the complications with him being somewhat tied to the government and her being able to fight him. But in this issue, they very well introduce the fact that she can one up this guy and that he's no Frank. Uh, I don't. It's interesting. I like it so far, but I'm kind of curious how they're gonna keep the tension since they kind of killed it in this issue after a couple moments. So, you know. Uh, Deadpool's going, and we're gearing up for the daughter to take over as they kill Deadpool, which I'm saying because that's been in all the advertisements at this point, so I'm not really spoiling anything. But it really undercut this issue being the end of an arc, and I don't know. Not a great not a great run. We've had a couple takes on Deadpool that died pretty quickly in recent years, and I wish those had gotten more throw than this one. Um, Next up, Fantastic Four 23-24, kind of some offshoot one-off sci-fi ideas that are slowly building to them dealing with Doom next issue for the big 25th. That was kind of set up through the vampire event and forcing Mr. Fantastic to interplay with magic. But these ideas have been great and have been issues like the rest of the run. Highly recommended. Ryan North is doing something very special here, and from a critical lens, it's actually maybe a little more droll, unless I was going to do a deep dive on these issues. Because it's just, they're great issues. They're totally worth picking up. This run, I've heard people start to say it more and more, as I've been saying. I genuinely think as long as things kind of keep clicking forward and we keep reaching satisfying endings, this is going to be considered one of the all-time great Fantastic Four runs, and I mean, hopefully puts them a bit more on the map, but also maybe not. Because if you're not reading the great stuff now while it's happening, coming in after, and I say this too, like whoever's coming in after North, I don't envy, because for them to reach any of the heights, like they have to do something different. But how do you do something different with the Fantastic Four and keep it the Fantastic Four and do anything people are going to enjoy? It seems like a rough road. It's like doing Punisher after Ennis, or I don't know, Spider-Man after Stern, or like one of these all-time great classic runs, and then you're doing the next one. I don't like it as much. Yeah, no kidding. In hindsight, it's actually a pretty good run. It just didn't live up to that poor timing. I don't know. Um, Get Fury is continuing, and it is more of a, despite having a lot of Frank in it, it's written more like an Ennis Fury book. Um, and it's a lot more mired in espionage and details of the war. This does not read like a Punisher book per se. Again, I know the Punisher's in it, but it's not that kind of bombast or anything, which is, it's an interesting book. Curious to see how it goes, but it's also ending soon. I don't know. Not a ton to say on that one. Then I decided to read my Wolverine standalones. I actually really enjoyed Wolverine Deep Cut, which is playing around the Mutant Massacre times and when the X-Men were in a very different situation that Claremont had them in at a odd point, late 80s. And it's playing up and building on a lot of these characters that when you read the Claremont run, it's kind of interesting because a lot of those things are considered iconic and some of those characters have gone back to. But when you read it in Claremont's terms, that was like a villain of the moment. Like they're around for 2 to 3 issues through the story beat that they're there for, and then they're probably gone, not to be revisited again. It's been interesting seeing Claremont doing a lot of this stuff because he's revisiting a lot of those characters and ideas where he has a fair amount of fertile ground for it because he didn't burn it to the ground. Him using Sabretooth again, it was a character who he did use multiple times, but not a ton. Um, Creates an interesting bit. I don't know. Whereas Wolverine Revenge is Hickman and Capullo. And I noted a lot of people saying this one doesn't quite sing. Part of it is it's set out of universe, which I don't necessarily care about out of universe stories. Like if it's set non continuity, okay, fine, we're going to play around. That's great. But it's done very much in a what if kind of scenario where what if Wolverine killed a bunch of people who killed a bunch of people who just a lot of death and then and it I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there's a little more to it because again, this is a mini I'm locked in for, but I'm hoping a little more is added to the story. This does not feel like Hickman at all to me. Definitely feels like Capullo. There's a lot of dinosaurs fit in. Um, I don't know. Honestly, like, again, I don't want to do a deep dive on it, but there's not a lot to say about this issue because it's pretty thin. Uh, Wolverine's with some people like Captain America and Bucky. There's a whole bit, and then they get dead, and then Wolverine's gonna go try to get revenge on. It's like Weapon X characters: Sabretooth, Deadpool. I think it's Maverick, Mega Red, Colossus in there, which is weird and okay. So it's not continuity, and they're gonna get dead. Okay. Um, Shifting gears, Ultimate Black Panther. This is really starting to come together, and we're on the beats to a big brouhaha coming that I think is going to just proceed. The big brouhaha that's been building and literally being counted down to in every issue of the Ultimates. Um, there's something building here, and if they play it off, I think it's going to be strong. And as they've been building, I think it's getting stronger and stronger, and we're seeing what Hill's doing. We'll see how it ultimately lands, but this could end up being a very big deal in comics. I think. I think when it gets bombastic, if it's done right, it's going to make waves, and it's going to sell the Ultimate Universe beyond kind of the level that it's currently at. Because this is the book that has the chance to make this new set of them be a whole set of standout. The Ultimates, they're kind of building, just world building character by character, which isn't bad, but it's a little lackluster for what they're going for. So this builds up a bit of Thor, but builds up their She-Hulk, who's part of this throwaway village, and they enlist her in a different way, and it is this more bulky whatever She-Hulk. It's fine, it's interesting, I guess, but they also did just kind of do this in Avengers proper with Jen, but now this is a character where it's more justified. I don't know. And then this builds up that Doom is Reed, and kind of plays to the Fantastic Four of it all in this Ultimates, which I'm sure is going to come back later, but made for a quiet read at this moment. I don't know. I'm waiting for kind of this has been maybe something that I found interesting once, but was already tired of and made me a big cynic of the original Avengers movie. The original Marvel Avengers movie, I should say, not the old British sitcom play up, because that cat suit. But no, the Avengers movie was a gather the band story and then deal with the bad guy. Every time they start the Avengers, there's a big to do about gathering the band anymore, especially post Bendis. And keep Bendis did it like 5-10 times. Um, this is a gather the band Avengers thing, and I just don't care. Like, let's have a story and then maybe go back, do one, have a story, go back, do one. I don't care because I don't like these characters aren't really doing much, and so I just don't have a lot of interest. This Ultimate Spider-Man issue was interesting. I'm gonna say it might be the weakest one of this run so far, but I say that because a lot of this one was about placeholding and setting up for the next issue, which has to happen every now and again. And this was also while doing setting up for the next arc for Spider-Man, setting up villains, setting up connections, setting up some background play, also setting this Ultimate Spider-Man in this Ultimate Marvel universe and doing more universe building as well. For being the weakest of the runs so far, in my mind, it's still actually a pretty fun, exciting read and makes me want to read the next issue. So we're doing good there. And then I'm locked in for a little longer, but if this book doesn't do anything by the let's see, eighth issue, I think I'm probably out. uh, keep waiting for like again, like things happen, but don't care about the characters. I don't care about the actions. The rules are all over the place, and I don't care. I don't care. I mean, I don't care, but I also don't know how it really connects to or matters for anything, and it is just not connecting with me. I know I'm not alone. I've talked to some other people, and they pretty routinely will agree like of the ultimate line, this Ultimate X-Men book is pretty weak, but also just generally to anything they're reading at the moment or in recent memory or anything, this book just does not connect. A lot of people take issue with kind of the manga art coming in. I don't. I'm fine with that, but my problem, as I've said before, the manga styling, and it started to be addressed in this issue a bit more. There's been more panels, there's been more words, but it pretty quickly breaks down to pretty big panels, and like some stuff happens and it looks okay, but I say Peach Momoko can do stuff very well, and on her covers she puts in the detail and scrape. When she starts doing the paneling and whatnot, she's very much from a manga school of mind. I don't inherently mind that, but she kind of needs to treat each one of these American pages as like two manga pages basically, and if she did that, the pace would go twice as fast. There'd be twice as much on a page. We'd have to start moving. And also like when you look here, like if you look at the detail on anyone's faces or anything there, it's just not present really. This, wow, where's my finger? There it is. This panel has some detail and some movement, but I mean like that, yeah, like we don't even need it. And you could do so much more on the page. There's no economy of space, there's no real place setting, there's no movement. There's a number of things that I've heard editors talk about when they look at someone's portfolio to check for the basics of comic storytelling and whatnot that are not being followed here. I mean, again, going back to, I mean, I just was talking, but in a separate video, talking about kind of the basics being hit for a comic and how Spectacular Spider-Man's definitely doing it. How, in some ways, Spider-Boy, from a writing standpoint and economy, is not. This, from an artistic and pacing standpoint, is just not hitting what it needs to hit. And I mean, since these Ultimate books are at a bit of a premium too, no, they really need to figure something out, I think, or maybe cut off the tail here or do something different with it, because it's as they're trying to launch this line again, when there's a pretty universal thought that this is the weakest one by far, they need to address something. That's all. Anyways, that's a lot of my marbles. I knew it was going to take a minute. I'm sure I'll do some more soon, and keep reading.